Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Centipede Geek. Today I'm going to talk about my thoughts and opinions on the WWE pay-per-view known as Hell in a Cell for the year of 2021. They had a total of 6 matches. I will not be talking about the pre-show match because I really didn't watch much of it. So let's talk about the first match. The first match was between Bianca Belair and Bayley, and it was for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and there will be spoilers ahead. Bianca Belair did win that match, and overall, I really enjoyed that match. I thought that I really liked the clean pin. She ended the match with a KOD on the ladder in the middle of the ring, and I liked how it was a clean pin win over Bayley. She just beat Bayley at the last pay-per-view known as Backlash. And now I like Bayley. I think she's a really good wrestler. But now that she's beaten Bayley twice now, I think now it's time to put someone else in the SmackDown Women's title picture as the next pay-per-view, Money in the Bank, approaches in about a month's time, maybe even less than a month now. I think it'll be really important to put someone else there besides Bayley so they can have someone else challenge for that title, fresh and new in the picture. I think Bianca Belair, in my opinion, is a great champion, and there's some really good spots in this match. She really used the hair to her advantage. There's a nice she does a nice backflip there in the beginning. There's some really nice spots in there. Just really a great opener of a match. The next match between Seth Rollins and Cesaro, it was just a singles match, no title or anything like that. Seth did win that match. I wasn't too fond of the quick roll-up pin that Seth got over Cesaro, and maybe I am a little biased because I like Cesaro as a better wrestler than Seth. I like Cesaro a little bit more than Seth, maybe even a lot more. And I like the recent push Cesaro has had. I feel like he's really been put on a pedestal, and he's been really on a fast track. He's been in the main event scene with Roman. And I felt like this loss really didn't, now it's knocked him off that. Now he has to come back from it. Obviously, it was a quick pin, so it's really going to further the feud between Seth and Cesaro. So I'm sure they'll have a match in the future. Maybe they might even find themselves in the Money in the Bank match. We'll just have to see what happens. But besides that, it was a solid match, but I really wanted Cesaro to get that win. He had already had a win over Seth at previous pay-per-views, so I thought, why not give him another win? But we'll have to see what happens in the future. Wasn't too fond of the quick roll-up. But besides that, it was a really great match. Another match we had was Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler. Bliss did win that match. Now, this is one where a lot of people, I feel like, are going to be split down the middle. They're either really going to like it or they're really not going to like it. And it really depends on how you feel about Alexa Bliss's character and, this sort of Fiend approach they're going for. We haven't seen the Fiend, though I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we are supposed to see the Fiend tomorrow on Monday night's Raw episode. So I personally liked the match a lot. I'm not big on the Lily doll. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm kind of in between on it, I guess. But I really did like the match. I like the whole controlling aspect, how she's able to, move her head and move her hand around and control both Reginald and Nia Jax, and that was kind of neat, I thought. It's a rather short match, so it doesn't take a lot of effort to watch. Overall, I thought Alexa Bliss really shined. I almost think she's almost changed her her wrestling style at times. She uses a lot of kicks and strikes and the Sister Abigail move, and I think she looks really intense in this match. And over time recently, she's looked really intense. So maybe I'm kind of on the different part of the ladder with a lot of people that maybe didn't like the match. I overall thought it was a pretty cool match, and I thought Alexa Bliss looked really great in it. Kind of a neat thing they're going for here, and I kind of like the storyline where it's progressing. Not big on the Lily doll, but besides that, I like everything else about it. Next match was between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. This was a great showing for Sami Zayn. I thought this was one of those matches that really could have went either way. Kevin looked great. Sami looks great. To me, I didn't really care who won because I thought both could have benefited from the win just as much as the other. Sami winning was just fine. He won with a haluva kick from the corner, so this was a really nice win for Sami Zayn. And I'm curious to see where the whole conspiracy storyline goes in the documentary, and I think it would be really neat if WWE put out some sort of actual documentary. He keeps saying it's coming out, and it makes me think, is there really a documentary coming out? Probably not, but it would be kind of cool if they sort of marketed and campaign off the success of this, new, if you can call it new. He's been doing this for a while, but this sort of Sami Zayn character. The next match was between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley won by disqualification, Charlotte Flair won by disqualification, but obviously you can't win the title like that, so Rhea Ripley retained because of the disqualification. I really enjoyed this match. This was a really cool match. I'm about ready. I like Charlotte Flair as a wrestler. She's great. I have no problem. She deserves to be in the main event scene, but probably agree with most of the other people or the WWE universe. She's been pushed to the top so many times that I'm ready to see someone else. She has wins over Charlotte Flair. It may not be in a singles match, but she's won in triple threat matches and stuff like that. To me, that means just as much. We've seen her beat Charlotte Flair before. We don't need to keep seeing it again. But we know because of the way this match ended, it's definitely going to continue the feud. I wasn't real big on the disqualification, how she pulls up the plastic or the front part of the table there and hits her, because we've seen so many times where people get hit with steel steps and tables and stuff like that, and it doesn't count as a DQ, but yet this time, for whatever reason, she pulls up that part of the table and the ref calls it DQ. So the ending I wasn't really too fond of. I would have rather Rhea Ripley just got a clean pin, pulled the riptide on her and gave Flair a clean pin, and then move on to the next competitor. But either way, we're going to see Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, I'm sure, in some sort of capacity in the next month or two, will fight again, and maybe even. But I'm more curious to see who's going to win the Money in the Bank and who's going to end up challenging either Ripley or Belair or go on. That's, to me, that's more refreshing. That's newer than just giving me Flair and Ripley again, because Ripley's beat her a couple of times now. So why keep putting her against that same competitor? Let's move on to something else, something newer, in my opinion. And the main event was between, obviously, Bobby Lashley, the champion, and then it was against Drew McIntyre, and Lashley won by a quick roll-up pin. Great match, no problem at all with it, except for the fact the quick roll-up pin. I wasn't too fond of it. I'm not real big on, if you notice by this review alone, I'm not real big on quick roll-ups. If you're going to get a win, just give them the clean win. Nothing wrong with that. I actually went into this expecting McIntyre to win, only for the simple fact that they said that this was the last time he could challenge for the belt as long as Lashley was champion. And now that McIntyre's lost, he can no longer challenge. So I'm really curious to see where they're going to go. It looks like McIntyre may not challenge for the belt. It looks like they might push someone else to the main event scene now. So I'm kind of curious to see, as Money in the Bank approaches and SummerSlam in Las Vegas and August approaches, I'm curious to see who they're going to push. There's rumors of Brock Lesnar. I really hope they don't do that. Brock Lesnar, I'm not big on Brock Lesnar. Anytime he comes around, he's here for maybe a couple of months. We've had a nice break from him. We'll say that's a good thing, is we've had a nice break from him for over a year now, so that's really nice. But there's rumors of, Lashley and Lesnar, but in my opinion, that's for the casual fan of WWE. I don't think too many people, and at least in my opinion, want to see, or I at least don't want to see, Lesnar and Lashley. I would rather see Bobby Lashley go up against a competitor that's on Monday Night Raw every week. There's so many people he could go up against: Cedric Alexander, Jeff Hardy, and the list goes on. People that compete every week, T-Bar, Mace, anybody. AJ Styles. There's just so many people that Lashley could face that actually compete every week, instead of throwing in someone that's going to have the belt for a couple of months and then we're only going to see him here and there. So Lesnar is not very appealing to me. But Bobby Lashley retaining is very interesting, I think. An interesting direction to go. I really like Leslie as champion. This one, for me, was a must-win situation for McIntyre, even though he didn't win. It was really one that could have went either way, and Lashley retained. If I had to pick a favorite match out of the night, there were probably a couple of standouts. Definitely Lashley and McIntyre is a standout. I would have to say Seth and Cesaro is a standout, and probably even Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I liked every match on the card. I really thought they really all stood out amongst themselves. There's small, real eensy-meensy minor things like quick roll-ups that wasn't too fond of. But either way, a real solid pay-per-view, and I'm real curious to see where they go with Money in the Bank, one of my favorite pay-per-views. I always like this concept of the ladder and just going after the suitcase, and there's even times where people have cashed in that same night. So it's just Money in the Bank is going to be a good one, and the fact that it's in front of a live crowd in Fort Worth, Texas, in the Dickies Arena, I believe, it's going to make it even more exciting. So we get to hear that live crowd interaction, and it's just probably going to be a really solid pay-per-view. Probably top this one overall. Hell in a Cell 2021 pay-per-view was just a really fun one to watch, and definitely recommend if you're a fan of wrestling if you haven't seen it yet. Once again, thanks for watching another video by Centipede Geek, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe below.